In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Blob Brush Tool. The Blob Brush Tool is usually associated with the Brush Tool. They share the same space in the Tools palette. The Brush Tool is Quick Button B, and the Blob Brush Tool is Quick Button Shift B. At first glance, they often seem very similar. But as we can see, I'm going to draw with the Brush Tool, and I'm going to fill in this area. And much like most programs, we can use the bracket keys to make the brush bigger. I'm going to fill in this simple bowl-like shape. And then I'm going to switch over to the Blob Brush Tool, and I'm going to do the same sort of thing, filling in a simple bowl-like shape. Now, as I look at these two things, they look pretty much the same. But when I go into their actual construction, I'm going to highlight both of them. You can see that the shape on the left that was built with the brush tool has a whole bunch of different paths, whereas the shape on the right only has a path on the outside. This is very convenient because the shape on the right is one solid shape. And so if I decide to change the interior color, as well as to change the stroke, notice that I can, it registers it as a shape. Whereas if I try to change the colors and shapes of the brush tool, notice that it only has an outline, it only has the stroke, and I can change the stroke and that kind of changes it. But if I try to change the fill, it becomes kind of something else. And then I have to change each individual one to try to match those. And that's not the worst if I use the eyedropper tool to borrow colors, or if I select the entire thing and then ask them all to have the same sort of stroke. But it is a lot of different shapes all pieced together, while this is one solid shape. And that poses a lot of difficulties when we decide to size up shapes or size down shapes or move them around. We can see that the Blob Brush tool retains its knowledge of it just being a singular shape, whereas the brush tool sees them as each as individual strokes. And when I try to size it up, it doesn't quite know how to size up the size of those strokes to keep that retained and filled. And when I try to size things down, it can get even more confusing because the strokes might be too large. So benefits of using the Blob Brush tool is that it paints shapes. And as long as I keep the same color properties, every time I make a stroke, those things will add to the overall shape, making it very easy to create custom shapes. A thing to note, though, is that all of these have the same property. It was going with the stroke being that outside yellow design. So you can see I've clicked off of it, I've clicked back on, I've made sure that the stroke is that same yellow, and as I click onto this, it starts to, again, build and register as this one whole design. But if I click off of this, I change my color to we'll say just slightly a different shade of yellow. When I start painting onto this, it's not going to register all of those together. But that's not so bad, because we can use tools like the Pathfinder's tools to combine those together in a later thing, in a way that the brush tool won't actually work with. So when you want to build shapes, make sure that you use the Blob Brush tool instead of the brush tool.